Therefore, I am going to present you Christoph now, and he's working at Steinbeis, and he's also a partner at To Be Different, an amazing company I really love that is dealing with green events. But now he's talking about circularity and how they're transforming business cases of their customers. So welcome on stage. I'm very curious.
Thank you. Hello. Nice introduction, Daniel, and also nice try to explain why I'm here talking about circular economy in a renewable energy session. That's maybe a first timer for me. For sure, it's a first timer for me. I just invite you to take off the glasses of renewable energies and take on the glasses of resources, and then you are where we are headed right now. The next challenge for me is to talk about a topic that is dear to my heart. You can probably see it, circular economy within 10 minutes, but I'll try. Let's see if we get the right presentation. I think, yeah, they set it up in the background, and it should be on the screen within a couple of seconds. Ah, yeah, okay. So circular economy, is it really Europe's last chance or a good chance for Europe to stay competitive? Question mark. Let's look into what circular economy is all about. And to do that, it always makes sense to get clear of how we organize our economy today. Because today we are working in a linear economy, we all know that, but we don't have it really like actively in our minds. So what are we doing today? We're extracting resources from the world wherever we can find them with a huge amount of, by the way, energy, usually not renewable energy. We make stuff out of these resources. We buy and use them. And then there happens this unmagic moment where we want to get rid of stuff and it gets waste. If we look at it from a global perspective, there is no real way. I like the blue pearl you showed, Teresa. I usually have that also in my presentations, because on a closed system like the Earth, there is no way. Stuff goes somewhere. And we have 3 deposit areas where we can put stuff. That's, as you can see, earth, water, or air. There we put the stuff we want to get rid of in a linear system. And if we look at it on a, again, global scale, there is people investigating that every year. How much stuff do we use? And they come up with this incredible amount of 100 gigatons of material we use every year and rising. What does 100 gigatons mean? I mean, it's a big number, but how much could you do with it? You could build a motorway, a 4-lane motorway to the moon, which you can see up there every year, again and again, which is quite a bit. But, and this is the, let's say, the math behind it. It's a Sankey diagram where you can see what resources we use, where do they go. I want to address today, or turn your attention today from the 100 gigatons we use every year and the less than 10% we cycle to another figure. That's the 30 gigatons that goes into net added to stock. What does it mean? Net added to stock is buildings, products we use longer than just a year, and that stay in use. If we put all together what humanity has accumulated in this stock over the existence of humanity, we calculate roughly 900 gigatons of material already being in use. So imagine the figure before, 100 gigatons we use yearly, and 900 gigatons, 9 times the material we use in a year, is already in stock. That's an important and huge deposit of resources we have. When we talk about using resources today, we think about the extraction. The resources sit here and they can be used and reused again if done in a clever way. We know that today most of the stuff we use is not produced with circularity in mind, or has not been produced with circularity in mind, but still there's quite some companies that try to extract products, parts, materials from that, even though they haven't been constructed in a circular way. And going forward, we can now start producing products in a way with that the use after the first use is already in mind when constructing the products. So 900 gigatons of material sit there a little bit as is the case in a library. Everybody knows libraries. You go in there, you find usually books. Sometimes you find already tools that you can not rent, but borrow. And if you go in a library, the rules are clear. You go in there, you pick something you want to borrow, then you take it out for a couple of weeks, you use it, but you use it in a diligent manner. So you use it to give it back again and to be used again. Easy principle. We understand that once entering a library, looking at us as mankind on Earth, we are not acting as in a library. We are acting, I don't know, like elephants that go in a room and trample everything down. It's not to tell us that we are acting badly. We haven't learned it better yet, but it's now time and we have the opportunity to learn it better and to more act like in a library. If I say we haven't learned it better, it's not true actually, because with precious materials, we know how to do and recycle them. Look at gold. To extract 1 kilo of gold, 1 kilogram of gold, you usually, in a good mine, you need to move 200 tons roundabout of rock. If you look at what the German Environment Agency calls cumulated raw material consumption, it's even more than that. It's 740 tons because you need machinery, you need fuels, you need like everything to get this 1 kilogram of gold. And there's 18 tons of CO2 emissions connected with it, and it costs you, we are talking about the worth of gold, 80,000, I think it's currently the price of a kilo gold, but also it costs 25,000 euro to extract a kilogram of gold from primary sources. If we look at what we consider today as the most intelligent form of making use of material again in a linear economy, recycling, which is, by the way, the least valuable strategy in a circular world, but that's another story. So if you burn, for example, mobiles, you only need 6 tons. I mean, only. For 1 kilogram of gold, it's still quite some stuff, but look at the relation, 200 tons versus 6 tons. You need 8 tons of this accumulated raw material consumption. 1 ton of CO2 is emitted, and look at the cost. Less than 1,000 euros to gain a kilogram of gold. And this is the potential, also the economic potential that sits in the circular economy. And I told you it's the least of the strategies, recycling. There's a difference, everybody can calculate that, 24,000 euros that wait for you when you go into the circular economy or when you tackle the circular economy. And we know that for precious materials. Why isn't it happening for other things? We know it's an innovation motor or innovation driver. This is, by the way, what we call in German, anyway, I don't know the English word for it, but it's a part of a watch that makes the watch going. It's an innovation driver, but it's not happening. People are talking really much about circular economy. There's studies that say the discussion and the talk about the circular economy has tripled within a year, but there's so little action. Why is it? Because my thesis, it's complex and it necessitates a collaboration. And we haven't learned collaboration among companies, for example. We have rather unlearned it because of cartel regulations, because of me and my garden attitudes. And what we have to learn now to really get the circular economy going is to move from what I would call ecosystem to the ecosystem. And it says here, minimum viable ecosystem. We don't need a perfect ecosystem right away. We just have to set up a minimum viable ecosystem from which we can get better and improve and even enlarge what we do. And what do I mean by that? I mean, it's easily said, more difficult to be done, but I've brought you 3 examples that illustrates what I mean by that. First example might surprise you. It's a pallet. Why? A pallet is not just a product, it's an ecosystem of companies living from that and working with that. The pallet is more than 60 years old. Everybody knows it, I think. You might have seen or also maybe touched it or used it already in what you do. And the pallet is a very standardized product. There's even a norm to it, which describes that there is 78 nails, 9 blocks, 11 boards that make up the pallets. Even the dimensions of every part is described and also the material, which makes it easy to repair for anybody who can read. Because you just take the norm and you say, okay, this is the dimension, this is the part, this is where it's put, I can do it. And this results into more than, at the bottom, 1,500 companies that just live from repairing pallets. And that's what I mean about by ecosystem. That's an ecosystem of companies really around this simple and very important product. We have around 600 million euro pallets in use, not only in Europe, by the way, it has spread a little bit all over the world. So for me, it's a perfect example of what is meant by an ecosystem. And there's not even one actor coordinating that. It's just a standard in the center that says how a pallet looks like. It's practical. It can take a lot of load, 2,000 kilograms to only 20 kilograms of Tara weight. So it's a perfect product. Second example for an ecosystem. A science that is more than 40 years old, a science about industrial symbiosis. We don't see many industrial symbioses in reality yet, but the science is really, like as I said, 40 years old. It's an easy idea. Take industrial centers and develop them in a way that you can profit the maximum, that each company can profit the maximum from the other company sitting next door. So you're not optimizing taxes you get as a community, tax revenues, but you're optimizing resource use. You plan it in a way that waste from one company can be the resource for the next company next door. You can also plan logistics integrally. You can logistics of employees, logistics of the ingoing and outgoing goods. You can even coordinate qualification programs. You can do them together, and so on and so forth. And there's the example of the 3 cases, Kalundborg, Kawasaki in Japan, and Kwinana in Australia, that figure as lighthouse examples for that. There's some more, but that's maybe the lighthouse examples. And then I brought a 3rd example out of my work, our work at Steinbeis Consulting Center, Circular Economy, where we brought together around 30 to 35 companies from the construction sectors that all center around one idea: making construction with primarily secondary materials the norm. So constructing buildings that don't consist of material that has been extracted from the earth, but has been taken from a use that has already happened in another building. And they gathered around this idea because they know we can't do that alone. We are too small. We heard it early on from, I think, Georg from CRE. Only small actors act in this construction sector. So they know we can't do it alone. We have to chip in and come together and gather around this idea of bringing secondary material, making secondary material use the norm. Is it easy? No, I can say from own experience, it has taken us 2 years to build the trust that is needed, to set up the paperwork that is needed, to get this framework going, but it's worth it. Have we built already a building like this? No, not in 100% way, because it's also a big convincing process that has to go on with those who invest in those buildings. We are really talking to many people. We are advancing slowly but surely, but it's also a very long process. Is it worth it? I would say yes, because it's one of the only chances we have to get from our high resource consumption, which is not sustainable, into a more circular world where we are headed and where we can keep our ambience alive as long as possible. And with that, I have one more thing maybe. Yes, I have one more thing that I brought with you because it illustrates very well how this process of transformation we're right now proceeds. We always tend to think that evolutions are linear, but they are not. We know that. We have seen it with COVID, for example. And we also see, in this case, it's a picture from New York on the left hand from 1900, a picture with only coaches that are drawn by horses. We have one car, which is circled in yellow. And the picture on the right, you might guess, has not been much later. It's only 13 years later. And look at the picture. Only cars and only one coach drawn by horses. So once the time is ready, it can go fast. And I just want to give you this message. We are right in the middle of a transformation. We haven't been in this big transformation before, not in our lifespan. But I'm sure that's where we are headed, and it can go fast, but it needs people like us here gathered in the room pushing and keeping the pace. And thank you.